Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.
Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365. Hope everyone is doing very, very well over here in the UK. It's very horrible outside at the moment. Just disgusting weather today. There's even a bit of thunderstorms over here. I'm sure probably when I say that, like the people in the American fans in the audience listen to that, be like, you know, it's tropical all the time, depending on where you are. But over here, thunderstorm, people go crazy. But believe it or not, we're not here today to talk about the weather. We are here to talk about NXT and who is going to be the next NXT champion. Now, of course, you've probably seen the news by now. It was all over social media. Last night, we actually did an NXT highlights and reaction video last night, a stream on the channel. So thank you to everyone that's watched that and joined us last night. But today we're going to be breaking down the chances of all four men about who is going to become the next NXT champion. Of course, Tommaso Ciampa, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, Finn Balor all face off next week in a 60-minute fatal four-way Iron Man match to determine the next NXT champion, the new NXT champion, after the championship was vacated by Karrion Kross last night on NXT. So there's a lot to break down, a lot to discuss, a lot to speculate on, and who is going to be, of course, the next NXT champion. But before we do get into that, we've got to pay the bills a little bit, pause for the cause, and talk a little bit about Manscaped.
Shut up and sit down.
Now, yes, Manscaped. Support for Wrestle News 365 is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Now, Manscaped, to all of my UK viewers out there right now, Manscaped has just launched in the UK. So over here, we've gone years without using the right tools for the job. So you can be one of the first men in England to experience their life-changing products. Now, don't just think that it's just for the UK viewers at all. I know that a lot of the audience that watches Wrestle News 365 is based in America, in the United States, or around the world for that matter. So it's not just for the UK. This offer, this partnership is open to everyone, so do not worry about that. And to be honest, let's talk about Manscaped, right? Let's talk about men's grooming, because I think we've all had that experience, right? Where you've been grooming yourself down below, trimming down below the belt, and you've nicked or you've snagged something that you shouldn't nicked or snagged. I've had it before, and I tell you now, it hurts. It hurts like you won't believe. Because the worst thing is like, for me, that kind of area should not be getting cut. That area should not be being snagged. That area should not be being have blood coming from it. Okay, I don't want to get too graphic, but that's what shouldn't happen. Right, so Manscaped prevents that from happening. That is why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team has perfected the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created, and just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0 in the UK. Of course, it's available around the world too, to all of my American viewers. Their third generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. And look, I'll be honest here, okay? I know what you might be thinking right now. You hear advertisements like this all the time. But when I tell you this is premium, I really do mean it. This is super premium. This battery will last up to 90 minutes. 90 minutes, so you can have a longer shave. That's an hour and a half time to get your shaving done down there. That is cropping yourself to absolute perfection there. And not only that, the waterproof technology in Manscaped allows you to groom in the shower too. So it's not even the problem of you're going to get your bathroom or wherever you trim yourself filled with hair and disgusting. Do it in the shower. Do it in the shower. Keep it away from that. Don't make any mess. And that waterproof technology for the lawnmower allows you to do that. And also, this is one of the really cool features. One of my favorite features is the LED light, which illuminates grooming areas for a closer, more precise trimming. And you've got 90 minutes to do that. How great is that? They've also, if you want to get really technical about it, they've also upgraded to a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology. And let's not forget about the charging stand. You can show your mower off loud and proud because this intelligently designed stand is a convenient charging dock powered by USB. So, if you're listening to me speak right now, I want you to experience it firsthand for yourself. Let's get that bush to that tush clean. You can get 20% off. Yes, 20% off and free shipping. 20% off and free shipping with the code 365WRESTLE at manscaped.com. Make your testes their besties. So once again, you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code 365WRESTLE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code 365WRESTLE. Your balls will thank you. So, NXT champion. Who is going to be the next NXT champion? Well, of course, last night the news was that Karrion Kross has vacated the NXT championship. Now, Karrion Kross came out with Scarlett to open the show. He was wearing a sling. It was very reminiscent, very familiar of when Finn Balor, of course, won the Universal Championship in 2016 at SummerSlam. And then the following night on Raw, what happens to him? He comes out in a sling because he got injured when he won the Universal Championship, the same way that Karrion Kross did with the exact same injury, by the way. Now, Karrion Kross comes out and says that he told everyone he was going to become NXT champion. He was going to become NXT champion. He told everyone, and that's exactly what he did. And this was so heartbreaking. This segment, and it was the same that it was for Finn Balor, because it just didn't feel fair. It doesn't feel fair. Life is very, very cruel. And he says that he's in searing pain and he loves it. He has no problem with being in pain, but they're not going to allow him to defend the NXT Championship in this condition. I thought it was very well written and very well scripted, that he could have just vacated it, but he basically put all the heat on the NXT management, right? He said, if it was me, I'd stay and defend it. I'm a heel. I'll stay and defend it. It's the NXT higher ups that don't want that to happen. So he lays the championship down in the ring. Scarlett puts the sand timer behind the championship, and the NXT championship is vacant. And it really sucks. It sucks so much. As I mentioned, it's the Finn Balor situation all over again. SummerSlam 2016, we were going to crown the inaugural WWE Universal Champion, Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. During the match, Seth Rollins does what is usually the buckle bomb, in which he powerbombs someone into the turnbuckle, but instead to Finn Balor, he does the buckle bomb to the ring apron on the outside, as Finn Balor is trying to sort of catch himself or prevent his neck legitimately snapping into the barricade. He puts his arm out, he jams his shoulder, suffers a dislocated shoulder, separated shoulder, essentially the same injury that Karrion Kross has suffered here. He completes the match, wins the match, becomes the first ever inaugural WWE Universal Champion, but the damage was done, unfortunately. The issue with shoulder injuries, and I mentioned this last night on the stream, the issue with shoulder injuries is that back in the day, if you had a dislocated shoulder, and we'd always hear these things, if you watch sports, you watch professional wrestling, whatever, you have a dislocated shoulder, a separated shoulder, pop it back in, hurts a little bit, and then you continue, right? That was the thing back in the day. Times have changed when it comes to these style of injuries, because when you have a dislocated shoulder, when you have a separated shoulder, it's not the same as just popping it back in anymore, because once that shoulder comes out of the socket, a lot of damage is actually done after the fact. So when the shoulder comes out, that's when you can have a torn labrum. When it pops out of the socket, there's a ton of ligaments that are holding all of that together, and they can get ripped, snapped, torn, whatever. So it's not only the separated shoulder, it's the ligament damage, it's the labrum damage that can happen because of that. And that's realistically what keeps people out a long time. So the same with Finn Balor. Finn Balor, he had that injury. He was out for 9 months. He was out at SummerSlam 2016, and he came back just after WrestleMania the following year. He came back just after WrestleMania the following year, after WrestleMania 33. That's significant. That is really, really significant there, isn't it? That's a long period of time. Now, I don't know, in the case of Karrion Kross, if he's going to be out for the same period of time. Sheamus has had a torn labrum before. He was out for about 9 months too. You look at Hideo Itami in NXT, Kenta, now in New Japan, who is doing great in New Japan. He just won a tournament to challenge Jon Moxley for the IWGP United States Championship. Looking forward to that whenever they can do that match. But Kenta, Hideo Itami in NXT, had a multitude of shoulder injuries and shoulder problems. His first shoulder injury kept him out for well over a year. It was closer to 18 months than a year. Again, I'm not saying Karrion Kross is going to be out for 18 months, but my point being here is that these shoulder injuries are very, very complex. A lot can go wrong. It's a very delicate injury. And what determines the severity of it is, once it was dislocated or separated, what damage did it do to the joint, to the ligaments, to the labrum, etc. That's the real issue here. So you feel bad for Karrion Kross. He's getting this absolute monster push right now. I think in his 7th match in WWE, he becomes the NXT champion. He was getting pushed to the moon in NXT, and this was, by all accounts, wasn't just going to be an NXT thing. I remember seeing the reports when Karrion Kross had signed with WWE that yes, he was going to be in NXT, but he wasn't going to be in NXT for a very long period of time. The rumors were that he was going to be in NXT for maybe a year, and then come WrestleMania time next year, he was straight for the main roster. So he was going to do a very short stay in NXT. And it looks like not only has this injury derailed his NXT run at the moment, but it might have put back his WWE run too. So it really does suck. It really does suck. As I mentioned, 7th match, becomes NXT champion. And not only that, but in his 7th match, he's out of WWE for a long time as well. So it's awful. From an NXT point of view, you've just lost Keith Lee as well. Keith Lee, of course, was the NXT champion. He's on Monday Night Raw now. So that main event you had at TakeOver 30 between Karrion Kross and Keith Lee, both guys are no longer available to NXT and WWE. Well, NXT, rather. Keith Lee's on Raw. So both guys aren't available to NXT right now. I mean, how that sucks. That really does suck, and that's a big loss to NXT. I'm sure they will find a way of filling the vacuum there that is left by Keith Lee and Karrion Kross's absence from NXT, and I feel for Karrion Kross, I really do. I have no doubts he'll come back stronger and better than ever. He'll get the title again, I truly feel, and he'll make it to the main roster eventually. But it's a horrible situation. You've just won the NXT Championship, and this happens. It was the biggest moment of his career, and this happens. It sucks big time. It really does suck big time. But of course, as they mentioned last night on NXT, life goes on, and NXT goes on, the WWE Universe goes on. So with the NXT Championship vacant, William Regal announced that next week we would have a fatal 4-way match to determine the new NXT champion. Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Finn Balor, as William Regal would call him. It was a throwback to when he used to call Umaga Umanga. And Adam Cole, 4 former NXT champions. They're calling it NXT Super Tuesday because it's happening next Tuesday night on NXT. NXT is on Tuesday next week due to the USA Network airing the NHL playoffs. I think that might be a little bit up in the air, though. I don't know what the situation will be. Obviously, we saw the NBA playoffs last night got postponed due to the boycott and the walkout with the circumstances there. I don't know if the NHL is going to be the same. I'm assuming that since NXT's announced for Tuesday, as far as we know right now, it's airing on Tuesday, but that could change. That really could change. But he also announced it's not just going to be any fatal 4-way match. It's going to be a 4-way 60-minute Iron Man match. And I went into more detail about this on the stream last night, but wow. Wow. A fatal 4-way 60-minute Iron Man match. I really do think this could be the match of the year. I really do. 4 guys, incredible workers, given 60 minutes to paint an absolute masterpiece, multiple falls, the amount of story they're going to be able to tell here, because I mentioned this because obviously recently, just this past Tuesday on Impact Emergence Night 2, we saw an Iron Man match for the Knockouts Championship between Deonna Purrazzo and Jordynne Grace. And in the preview of that, I mentioned that I love Iron Man matches because the ability there to tell a story through pinfalls, through disqualifications, through that score card element of the match, I think is just really, really captivating. So to do that with 4 guys, I think is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I'm slightly concerned that it might get a little bit too complex with the multiple scores. The beauty of the Iron Man match when it's a singles match is it's just 2 guys, it's easy to count score. 4 guys pinfalls on the screen at the same time might be slightly complex, but I don't think it should be too hard to follow. But that would be a slight concern of mine as to who's in front, who isn't in front. Obviously, they'll have a graphic on the screen to remind us of that. If we had a live crowd, I'd be a bit concerned that they know, but I'm sure they'll put it up on the big screen as well, so they'll find ways around that. And as I mentioned, it's an absolute candidate for Match of the Year. It has to be a candidate for Match of the Year, right? For the guys, you would expect nothing less. If it's anything less, then fantastic. I think people would be disappointed, would they not? So I'm really excited about this match next week, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. A lot of fun to watch. 60 minutes, though, will it be? No, because it's on TV. 60 minutes means it will take up probably the second hour of the show, which means more likely, factoring commercial breaks, it's more of a 45-minute Iron Man match, because for every hour there's 15 minutes of commercials. So it's more of a 45-minute Iron Man match. That means likely we're going to get, I would speculate, at least 3 or 4 commercial breaks during this match, which sucks because 3 or 4 commercial breaks is really going to be difficult to watch and to get out of. Excuse me, because every time you come back, you have to get yourself back into the match. It does hurt the flow of the match, and as I mentioned, for me, commercial breaks are kryptonite to professional wrestling matches. That's why the majority of the best professional wrestling matches happen on pay-per-views or stuff where there's limited commercials. Some of the best matches have been hurt by commercial breaks. Look back to AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan on SmackDown earlier this year for the Intercontinental Championship. One of the best matches of the year. It was devastated by commercial breaks. There was at least 3 or 4 in that match, and that certainly wasn't for an hour. This match is. So I worry about the commercial breaks. Hopefully, maybe considering that it's on Tuesday and they're treating it like a special event, maybe they'll have limited commercials on their USA Network. Have done that before. I don't think they're going to go commercial free, but I think they could potentially go limited commercial. I think that would really help this match, especially considering the beauty of the Iron Man match is the story that you tell via the scoreboard. So hopefully they go limited commercials, because I think that could really hurt the match. But let's go through who is likely to win. Let's go through each individual and see how likely they are to become the NXT champion. So first, you can see him on the screen there, Tommaso Ciampa. How likely is Tommaso Ciampa going to be to become the NXT champion? I think certainly a possibility. I think there certainly is a possibility for Tommaso Ciampa. Now, he made his return to NXT last night, faced off against Jake Atlas, destroyed him in about 30 seconds. Tommaso Ciampa is once again a heel, which I'm massively in favour for. He does his best work as a heel. He always has. That initial run when he first became the NXT champion was phenomenal. His mic work, his character work, his matches, all of it, just absolutely spectacular. So, given the fact that he never actually lost the NXT championship, right? He had to relinquish it when he had the broken neck, the neck injury. He's had opportunities to get it back, but he never lost the NXT championship. Given the fact that they turned him heel last night, which felt a bit like something that happened kind of out of left field, would potentially make you think, okay, have they switched him heel to put the title on him next week, and then we can have Tommaso Ciampa as the heel? Because the thing is here, and I've mentioned this quite a few times recently with NXT, NXT for me is a heel territory. You look back historically, Triple H likes to book heels as champions. Now, of course, there are exceptions to this rule, but the majority of the time, the heels, when they become NXT champion, are champions for a long time. You look at Tommaso Ciampa, you look at Adam Cole, you look at Kevin Owens, you look at Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe. Those guys had the long championship reign as champion. Now, of course, some babyfaces have had long reigns as NXT champion. Finn Balor, right? Shinsuke Nakamura. But the majority of the time, the babyface in NXT has a short championship reign. I look at Johnny Gargano, I look at Keith Lee, I look at Sami Zayn. It's happened numerous times because I think Triple H likes his champion to be a heel and he likes the baby faces to come chasing for the championship. And you look at Karrion Kross. Of course, Karrion Kross is a monster heel, and it makes you think that they had plans to have as their NXT champion once again a heel to build this new version of NXT around. Switching Tommaso Ciampa into a heel could make you think that that's their like-for-like replacement. Now, Tommaso Ciampa isn't going to be booked the same as Karrion Kross because they're different characters. Tommaso Ciampa isn't the monster-style heel that Karrion Kross is, but they know that he, as a heel NXT champion, can work. He never lost the title. So I definitely think there's a possibility for Tommaso Ciampa to become NXT champion next week. Do I think he will win it? I don't think so. But I think out of the three guys after the guy that I think is going to become the NXT champion, I think he's the second most likely, if that makes sense. So I think Tommaso Ciampa has a great opportunity to become the NXT champion next week. But part of me thinks that they're going to go with someone else, and we'll touch on that in a second. So the next guy, Adam Cole. Is Adam Cole going to once again become NXT champion? No, I don't think so. I really don't think so here. I think it just makes a lot of sense for him to not be champion right now. Adam Cole, of course, is the longest reigning NXT champion in NXT history. We just had over a year, 400 days of Adam Cole being the NXT champion. It was a big deal when he lost the championship to Keith Lee on night 2 of the Great American Bash. I don't think, personally, he has much longer left in NXT. Look, there's not a lot for him to do in NXT right now. I think he's bound for the main roster very, very soon. I think, if anything, the Karrion Kross injury has just extended his time in NXT by maybe a couple of weeks at most. If you look at the Undisputed Era last night, Kyle O'Reilly defeated Drake Maverick, but after the match, Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish, they started attacking Drake Maverick. Kyle O'Reilly wasn't really into this. And to me, that was the first real seeds of an Undisputed Era breakup. And of course, Adam Cole wasn't even a part of that segment. So I think the Undisputed Era doesn't have long left in NXT. I think Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Roderick Strong are going to stay in NXT. And I think Adam Cole is going to go to the main roster. Specifically, I think he's going to go to Friday Night SmackDown. I think the most likely scenario with Adam Cole right now is that we have Payback on Sunday. We then have NXT on Tuesday, where we have this match. I think Adam Cole will not become NXT champion in this match, and this will be his last NXT match of any kind, for that matter. Then the following Friday, the Friday after that, on SmackDown, I think Adam Cole will then make his debut, but it looks to me like he's going to make his debut without the Undisputed Era. Now, that's a discussion for another time. We've heard these rumors quite a lot over the last few months that once Adam Cole lost the NXT Championship, people on the main roster wanted him. Vince McMahon wanted him. Bruce Pritchard wanted him on the main roster. There had been numerous scenarios and ideas pitched to Adam Cole by coming to the main roster with and without the Undisputed Era. By all accounts, Adam Cole was one that was keen on moving to Raw and SmackDown because he felt like he had done everything he can do in NXT. However, the other members of the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong, are very hesitant to go to Raw and SmackDown because of the use of previous NXT talents. You look at Keith Lee right now, you look at Aleister Black, Shayna Baszler, Ricochet, the list goes on and on. They have concerns that going to Raw and SmackDown would actually be a bad thing for them right now. They're comfortable where they are, they're comfortable doing what they're doing, and they're comfortable working with the people that they're working with. I don't think they want to go to Raw and SmackDown, but I think Adam Cole does. So, I don't think Adam Cole will win next week. I think he'll appear on Friday Night SmackDown next week on his debut on the main roster, but I don't think he's going to be with the Undisputed Era. So no, I don't think Adam Cole will become NXT champion next week on NXT. So that leads next to Johnny Gargano. What about Johnny Gargano? Is Johnny Gargano going to become NXT champion next week? Again, my answer here is no. I don't think so. Purely because, to me, Johnny Gargano just doesn't seem, to me, like the Johnny Gargano of a couple of years ago. Johnny Gargano in 2018 was the face of NXT. He was the heart and soul of NXT. He had that underneath underdog babyface character played to perfection. He was worthy of becoming NXT champion at that point, and he did. Again, very short period of time, because that's how Triple H likes to book the babyface champions in NXT, the underdog babyface champions especially. But this new version of Johnny Gargano we've seen recently on NXT television, the heel Johnny Gargano, ever since turning on Tommaso Ciampa at NXT TakeOver Portland earlier on in the year, to me, it just doesn't do it for me. It just doesn't do it. I don't believe Johnny Gargano when he's doing this character, and it doesn't come across that Johnny Gargano really believes what he's doing when he's playing this heel character for me, and it just doesn't come across as authentic. I feel he's trying too hard to be a heel. He's not going to be the intimidating heel. He's trying to be, the chicken heel rather, but it just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work for me, this heel Johnny Gargano. Now, I'm not saying that Johnny Gargano needs to be that underdog babyface Johnny Gargano, because ultimately, was it getting stale? Yeah, probably it was. And he needed to do something slightly different to reinvent himself. But I don't think this heel version of Johnny Gargano is it. I just don't believe Johnny Gargano as a babyface. His best work, his best run in NXT has always been as a babyface, and I don't think his work as a heel, because he has been heel a couple of times. They tried to turn him heel before with Tommaso Ciampa back in 2018, and that didn't feel right either. And to me, it just feels the same here. I don't believe him as a heel. I don't think he works as a heel. For me, it's like turning Rey Mysterio heel. You just wouldn't do it. And I think that's the same with Johnny Gargano. So I think that's hurt Johnny Gargano, if I'm honest, quite a bit. Because at the moment, I think he's in that match because of his previous work. He was previously an NXT champion. He was previously main event caliber. But this Johnny Gargano at the moment, do I think he should be in that main event? I'm not sure. Because to me, he just doesn't feel like the big deal that he once was. And for me, that means he's definitely not going to become NXT champion, in my opinion, next week. So finally, the final guy in this one is Finn Balor. And Finn Balor, for me, has to be the favourite here. Finn Balor has to be the favourite to become the NXT champion. He's the one that I think next week will become the NXT champion. And there's a multitude of reasons as to why I think he's going to become NXT champion next week. You look at it from so many perspectives. Finn Balor, when he came back to NXT last year, was a big deal. Nobody really saw that coming. He was on the main roster. He'd been gone since SummerSlam after he'd had the first encounter with The Fiend in the ring. And a lot of people thought this is a big deal because at the time, NXT had just debuted on the USA Network, 2 hours, going head-to-head with AEW Dynamite. It was being considered as a main roster style brand, right? It was the third brand of WWE. It was no longer developmental. And Finn Balor appearing on NXT was a statement of that. He was still on main roster money. He still is on main roster money. But I think from his perspective and from the perspective of WWE and Triple H, the idea of moving Finn Balor back to NXT was a name that is synonymous with NXT, but also could draw viewers in on Wednesday nights, be that credible centerpiece of the brand opposite AEW Dynamite. I think that NXT and WWE knew that AEW Dynamite had the likes of Chris Jericho, had the likes of Jon Moxley, who they knew from their time in WWE were ratings draws, and they thought, okay, if we put Finn Balor on NXT, that's going to keep some of the viewers over here. And that just hasn't really been the case. I think a lot of people thought that with Finn Balor coming into NXT, it'd be a matter of time before he became NXT champion. And if I'm totally brutally honest, Finn Balor's run so far in NXT, to me, has been a big disappointment. He doesn't feel as important as he did when he debuted on NXT. You look at the work that he's done, he's had some great matches. I can't argue with that. He faced Matt Riddle, he's faced Johnny Gargano, Timothy Thatcher. Great. He was going to have a feud with Walter over the NXT UK Championship, which was likely going to take place at NXT TakeOver Dublin in his home country of Ireland. Of course, COVID happened. That derailed a few things. And in his feud initially with Johnny Gargano, that got derailed by injury too. So there have been extenuating circumstances with Finn Balor, but I just don't think it's been a success that NXT, and for that matter, Finn Balor, thought it would be. And I think this is the opportunity to make things right, in my opinion. at the time, because at the moment Finn Balor, as I mentioned, he's on main roster money, so there is nobody in NXT right now who is on more money than Finn Balor. Now, is that a reason to make him NXT champion? No, but that is a reason to say he needs to be featured more prominently, and are we getting the best value for money out of Finn Balor right now in NXT? And I would say no. Because he doesn't feel as important as he once did. This is the opportunity to make things right. I think Finn Balor becoming NXT champion here puts him as the centerpiece of the brand once again, and puts him in a prominent position where they can really start to build him and NXT back up as that ratings draw. So I think it's most likely that Finn Balor becomes NXT champion here. And furthermore, I think the irony here is a great story to tell. As I mentioned earlier on in the stream, Finn Balor became the first ever inaugural WWE Universal Champion in 2016, defeating Seth Rollins. However, in this match, he suffered a dislocated/separated shoulder and had to relinquish the championship the following night after he had won it 24 hours earlier. The exact same thing has happened to Karrion Kross here. Karrion Kross defeats Keith Lee for the NXT Championship at NXT TakeOver 30, but suffers a separated/dislocated shoulder and has to vacate it the next episode on NXT. It's exactly the same. He was wearing a sling in the exact same way that Finn Balor was wearing a sling when he vacated the Universal Championship. The irony that Finn Balor, after the heartbreak that happened to him with the Universal Championship, he can now take advantage of the very same injury and circumstance that happened to him that has also happened to Karrion Kross. I think the irony there, the story there, is something you just couldn't write. It's fallen into the laps of NXT and WWE. Now, would they have preferred Karrion Kross to be healthy and be the NXT champion? Sure. But you couldn't write this. You can't write fate. And it looks like fate has moved into the arms of Finn Balor. They can play that up. They can say that, it once took from me and now I take back from it. Everything comes around. Everything comes full circle. And that's a great story they can tell there. I think that'll be a lot of fun, an interesting story. And most importantly, it puts Finn Balor back into the position in NXT where he should be. Finn Balor, with the money he's on, with the star power that he has, the name recognition that he has, he should be front and center in NXT. And I don't think they've done the best job with him since he's returned. And I think this is the ideal way to get back to where they should be with Finn Balor. That is why next week I think he will be the NXT champion once again. Now let's take a look at the live chat before we wrap things up here. John Elite 4 Live says, as much as I love Adam Cole, baby, I don't see him winning next week. I agree, John. I don't think Adam Cole will become the NXT champion next week. In fact, I think it's going to be his last NXT match. Franklin says, hi, how you doing, mate? So yeah, who do you think is going to be the NXT champion next week? Do you think it's going to be Tommaso Ciampa, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, or Finn Balor? Let me know your thoughts in the live chat or in the comment section below. Once this video has been processed, I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of the comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys. If you are in the comment section as well, you can take advantage of that offer of support from Manscaped. You can get 20% off and free shipping with the code 365wrestle at manscaped.com. The link is in the comment section below. The link is also in the description box below for that offer. As I mentioned before, 20% off and free shipping with the code 365 at Wrestle 365 Wrestle rather at manscaped.com. I'll get there eventually. So that's 20% off, free shipping at manscaped.com with the code 365 Wrestle. So be sure to take advantage of that. That would really be helping us out. You can also follow us on all of our social media platforms. The handles are on the screen right now. The links are in the description box below. It's at 365Wrestle on Twitter and at WrestleNews365 on Facebook and Instagram. So be sure to give us a like or a follow there if you haven't already. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to WrestleNews365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right-hand corner of the screen right now. We're on our way to 800 subscribers on that long road to 1,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe. If you have subscribed, just know that I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.